Hey guys, gizmoddict here and a Merry Christmas to all of you. So my Christmas present is already here and this is one of the most anticipated phones of 2019, the Redmi K30. It gives you a 120Hz display, Snapdragon 730G, the latest Sony IMX686 Sensor, everything for a price tag of less than 20,000 rupees. So today we're gonna unbox the Redmi K30. I'll give you guys my hands-on review of this phone as well, and I'll also show you some GCam samples of the K30. So without wasting any more time, let's get started, but I just have a small request from you guys. It takes a lot of efforts to import phones from China, pay extra duties and taxes to bring these videos first. So if you guys would like to support the channel, then please subscribe and press the bell icon, and also check out the channel sponsor gizmoddict.com. These guys are the only ones in India to have proper 2.5D curved tempered glass, and I think they produce the best tempered glasses for all of the smartphones. They've also started their new lineup of matte hybrid cases, so if you guys are interested in buying the real curved glass or the cases or anything else from their website, do check out gizmoddict.com and use the promo code GIZMO for 10% discount. On that note, let's get started with the unboxing of the Redmi K30. So if you take a look at the box of the Redmi K30, it's a very minimal packaging. You get a white box with the phone's branding. You've got the phone's branding on the sides as well, and the back is basically just empty with a small Redmi logo. But anyways, if we see inside the box, the first thing that you get is this small piece of cardboard which holds your case, and you also have paperwork. So the case is basically your typical TPU type case that we've seen with other Xiaomi devices as well, so nothing cool about that. Below that is the Redmi K30, and thanks to the customs department, they've already done half of the unboxing for me. So normally the customs department does check everything that is there inside the box, so they do unbox the phone first. But anyways, here's the Redmi K30, and as you can see, I've gotten it in this pinkish red shade. I don't know what this shade is called exactly, but I think the Redmi Note 7 and the Note 7 Pro also had this color. It's a gradient like color, so you've got red, pink and a lot of things. It majorly looks like a shade of pink, but as you can see, the phone looks really good. Xiaomi has completely overhauled the design with the Redmi K30, and we'll talk about this more later on. As of now, let's just keep this phone to the side and let's see what else do we get inside the box. So apart from the Redmi K30, you've got a huge charging brick. As you can see, it's a 27-watt charging brick, and I'm really glad that Xiaomi has included it this time with the Redmi K30. With the Redmi K20 and the K20 Pro, they only gave us an 18-watt charger, but it's great to see the 27-watt charger inside the box for the Redmi K30. It should charge the phone from 0 to 100% in roughly 1 hour and 8 minutes. But we'll do a charging test and we'll compare it with the Realme X2 as well. Finally, we've got the Type-C to USB cable, which you'll use to charge the phone and transfer data probably. So that's about it. That's all you get inside the box of the Redmi K30. Now let's throw everything to the side and come to the phone itself. So coming to the Redmi K30, as you can see, Xiaomi has completely overhauled the design in comparison to the K20. There are a couple of similarities. For example, this phone is still made out of glass. So like the Redmi K20, you've got Gorilla Glass 5 on the front as well as on the back, and the glass body does seem to be really nice and premium. I love this shade that I've gotten for my Redmi K30, and it looks very cool when you throw it in some light. It reflects the light at different angles, and the color overall looks very pleasing to the eye. The major design change that Xiaomi has gone with this time is that first of all, you don't get a pop-up camera on the Redmi K30. Instead of that, you've got this punch hole like notch similar to what we've seen on the Galaxy S10 Plus. I mean, from a distance, this phone looks exactly like the Galaxy S10 Plus, and you won't be able to distinguish them if you look at this phone from a distance. So yeah, I don't know why Xiaomi decided to copy Samsung, because I personally prefer the pop-up camera layout and having a proper bezel-less display with no punch hole or anything like that. I don't know why they did that, but then it looks very similar to the Galaxy S10 Plus. You do have a couple of options to hide the notch, and the funny part is that unlike the Galaxy S10 Plus, there is no pill-like cutout here. So basically, there are two circles for the camera sensors, and between them, there is a small part of the display which they have turned black. So as you can see, when I change the notch settings for a split second, you do see that you only have two separate circles and there is display in between. So they have manually disabled the display between the two camera sensors and they've turned it black. I don't know why, maybe so that it looks more uniform or something like that, but it's not like the Galaxy S10 Plus. You have two separate circles and there's a small part of display in between that has been turned black. I hope you guys understand what I mean. So yeah, that is one interesting thing that I noticed about the Redmi K30. But apart from that, if we actually talk about the display, this is the ultimate selling point of this phone. You've got a 6.67 inch Full HD Plus display. It's an IPS panel, but the refresh rate is 120Hz. This phone gets a 120Hz display for less than 20,000 rupees, and the only other 120Hz phone that I know of that sells in India right now or anywhere else is the ROG Phone 2, and minimum that will cost you 35,000 rupees. This is absolutely crazy, and you do feel that 120Hz when you use the phone on a day-to-day basis. Scrolling through the launcher, opening apps, scrolling through the Twitter feed, everywhere you feel things to be a lot more smoother in comparison to a 60Hz display. I'm showing you a small sample of the K20 and the K30 side by side, which I recorded at 120 FPS. I have slowed it down, so hopefully you guys can see the difference between a 120Hz display and a 60Hz display. So yeah, basically 120Hz display is legit, and it's very smooth to use, and it's like surprising to have such a high refresh rate display on a budget phone. But sadly, one compromise that you make here is that this is not an AMOLED display. Compared to the K20, you've got an LCD panel this time. So because of that, first of all, the display quality might not be that great. In comparison to an AMOLED display, the blacks might not be that deep, the saturation might not be that high. And the second consequence of this is that you don't get a fingerprint sensor inside the display, which the K20 and the K20 Pro had. In comparison to that, Xiaomi has shifted the fingerprint sensor to the right hand side alongside the power button. So here basically you get a power button, and around that area you have the fingerprint sensor. So you can tap the button if you want to. It is a physical button. You can tap it like any other power button. And if you want to use the fingerprint sensor, you just have to place your finger on the sensor and it immediately recognizes it and unlocks the phone. As you can see, the setup process is very easy for the fingerprint sensor. I thought that because it's on the side, it might not be that accurate or that fast. But as you can see, I just put my finger here and the phone unlocks. So the fingerprint sensor is very fast, and it's actually very handy because your thumb naturally will rest in this place. You've also got face unlock if you want to use that, but I would prefer the fingerprint sensor on the Redmi K30. Apart from that, in terms of design, you've got the Type-C port on the bottom, the headphone jack is also on the bottom, the power and the volume rockers are on the right hand side. You've got the quad camera setup on the back, and the Redmi K30 this time also gets the IR sensor. This is one feature that a lot of people missed on the Poco F1 and as well as on the Redmi K20 series, so I'm glad that Xiaomi has brought it back on their phones. Sadly, we don't get stereo speakers on the Redmi K30. That was one thing that I was expecting, but you don't get stereo speakers. You've only got one speaker that's there at the bottom. Now from the outside, let's move on to the inside of the Redmi K30, and here you've got the Snapdragon 730G on the 4G variant along with 6 or 8GB of RAM, and you can go up to 256GB of storage. I have the 6 128GB variant, so you can expect the performance to be very similar to the Redmi K20. The 5G variant of this phone gets the Snapdragon 765G, which is obviously better, but then I think in India we're only gonna get the 4G variant. If we hop into PUBG, as you can see, by default we only get up to Smooth Plus Ultra, which is the case with any other Snapdragon 730G phone. But because we have GFX tool, I will be making a separate PUBG review where I will use GFX tool and unlock the settings up to the extreme frame rate and see if this phone can maintain 60 FPS or not. So detailed PUBG review is coming very soon. Apart from that, obviously you guys want me to test out a lot of 120Hz game. There are games like Real Racing 3. You've got the Chinese PUBG. All of these games do support 120Hz display. So let's see if the Snapdragon 730G can handle games at 120 FPS or not. So I will be making a dedicated 120 FPS gameplay review as well, so don't miss out on that. But more or less the performance is going to be very similar to the Redmi K20, and the phone feels very snappy and smooth to use. But we'll talk about this more in my full review. This phone also gets 4500 mAh of battery, so in comparison to the Redmi K20, we've got 500 mAh more battery. Now the K20 already had great battery life, but considering that this time you've got more battery, this would even be better. Plus you've got faster charging, so this phone will approximately charge in an hour, and it will even last more than your K20 or the K20 Pro. So the battery life, charging time, everything else will be covered in my future videos. Finally, moving on to the cameras, here we see a major change in comparison to the Redmi K20. So the K20 had a triple camera setup. You had the Sony IMX686, you had a wide angle lens, and you had a telephoto lens. The Redmi K30 on the other hand gets the 64 megapixel Sony IMX686. I have not seen any other phone which is sporting this sensor as of now, and I think it's gonna be a very good sensor. Apart from that, you've also got a wide angle lens. You've also got a macro lens, which we didn't have on the Redmi K20. But sadly, this phone loses out on the telephoto lens. The fourth lens is a 2 megapixel portrait lens, which is basically quite useless. And I would have preferred a telephoto lens that we had on the K20 because photos with the telephoto lens, especially portraits, look very good. On the front as well, we've got dual cameras this time. The Redmi K20 had single camera, but here there's a 20 megapixel primary shooter and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. So I'm assuming it will give you a better edge detection in the portrait mode photos. You've also got camera to API support right out of the box, and GCam is kind of working as well. I couldn't get the wide angle lens working right now because it's crashing. I don't think it's optimized for the Redmi K30, but I'm very sure that as soon as this phone will launch in India or anything like that globally, you will have a proper GCam working on this phone. As of now, the primary sensor is working, and I'm showing you some GCam samples versus the stock camera samples on the Redmi K30. Do let me know your opinions about these samples, and I will be making a dedicated GCam review very soon. But as of now, the cameras look pretty promising, and I will put it against the Realme X2 as well to see which 64 megapixel sensor is better. Is the Samsung sensor on the X2 better or the Sony sensor on the K30? Lastly, talking about some other things, in terms of software, the Redmi K30 runs on MIUI 11 that is based on Android 10. So yes, you've got Android 10 right out of the box, and that is a huge plus for this phone because a lot of budget phones are still launching with Android 9. So yeah, you've got the latest version of Android and the latest version of MIUI. And apart from that, here you've got a hybrid SIM slot. So once again, I think that is something that people wouldn't like. A lot of people prefer having a dedicated SIM slot, but then Xiaomi, at least in China, has launched this phone with a hybrid slot. Now they did launch the Note 8 Pro with a dedicated slot in India, so maybe the Indian version of the K30 will come with a dedicated SD card slot. And one feature that this phone misses that I really liked on every Xiaomi phone is the LED notification light. Almost every Xiaomi phone has this. Realme phone started skipping this, and I love having a physical LED notification light, but sadly this time you don't get it on the Redmi K30. So on the Redmi K20 you still had a notification light near the pop-up camera, but here there is no sign of an LED notification light, and I'm sad that this is, I think, the first Xiaomi phone without that. So yeah, basically that's my hands-on review as well as the unboxing video of the Redmi K30. There's a lot of things to talk about with this phone, and I've tried to cover majority of the things in this video. If you guys have any more questions about the Redmi K30 or you have any video request, then please let me know in the comments. I'll make sure that I make those videos for you. A lot of content about this phone is coming very soon because I have all of the other phones like the Redmi K20, Note 8 Pro, Realme XT, Realme X2. So I will be comparing the Redmi K30 with all of these phones. We'll see camera test, PUBG test, full-fledged comparisons and so on. So a lot of things are coming to the channel very soon. Especially that 120Hz display and that 64 megapixel Sony camera is something that I'm really excited to test out. So let's see how these things go, and I'll see you guys in my future videos. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I will be back in a notifications very soon. You can catch up with me on my social media pages. The links to that would be in the description box. Thanks for watching. Peace.